Mr. Beast and Haunted Jail Friends. If you watch videos on YouTube, then you must know Mr. Beast. In fact, you would also know that Mr. Beast does various challenges in his videos. But in 2019, for his new YouTube video, the world's top YouTuber Mr. Beast, also known as Jimmy Donaldson, thought that this time something different should be done. Instead of some remote jungle or island, Mr. Beast decided that this time he would go with his friends to the place considered the most haunted in the world and spend 24 hours there with his team. Tariq, Chandler, Connor, Chris, Josh and Jake were ready for this challenge but were also scared. They took ghost hunting equipment like EMF meters, infrared meters, night vision cameras, plenty of batteries, flashlights and a prison in America. A jail that has been closed for years and is considered one of the most haunted places in the world. As soon as they entered the prison, they understood why people called this place so scary. This 6-floor large prison, spread over 2.5 lakh square feet, with so many jail cells, looked extremely frightening. The guard there told them that after a fire in that prison in the 1930s, 300 prisoners died, and many prisoners killed each other there, and many took their own lives. It is said that the spirits of many of those prisoners still In fact, the guard said that he himself has felt invisible forces in the jail several times. In fact, in a jail where prisoners were kept alone, a fellow guard also lost his life. They warned everyone not to separate from each other and not to make any kind of inappropriate jokes. And he said that inside that jail, there is also a hospital and church where they should absolutely not go. Mr. Beast and his team were a bit nervous after hearing all this, but still, they gathered courage and went inside with their camera. Their aim was to see if there are really spirits there, and if there are, to complete the challenge of spending 24 hours at that place. When they went inside and turned on their paranormal devices, suddenly a beeping sound came, and the lights on their EMF meter started blinking, which meant that spirits were around them. Everyone got a little scared after seeing one part of the prison. They reached the main hall and set up their base camera there because it was quite large and near the entrance. Then Mr. Beast said that they should split up again to explore the place. It was decided that Chandler, Mr. Beast and Josh would explore the hospital, while Chris, Jake, Connor and Tarek would take solitary confinement where the jail.
They were recording a video while walking with their MF meter. Then they saw a table and a poster cutout in a room there. It was from a popular film. Seeing this, both of them started joking about those movies. Just then, suddenly, the EMF in Chandler's hand started blinking. And at the same moment, Mr. Beast felt as if a loud siren was blaring from somewhere. This was quite strange because there was no active siren there. And then, when Mr. Beast pointed their EMF towards that siren, it started flickering even more quickly. They began moving towards the source of the siren. The EMF meter started blinking faster. And suddenly, upon reaching near an open room, the EMF As soon as Mr. Beast tried to enter the room, his head started to feel heavy. He began to feel dizzy, so Mr. Beast came out. But Mr. Beast remembered that the sound of the siren came from a bit further behind. The three of them realized that after wandering for so long, they were going in circles, which was very unusual because they remembered taking different paths each time. Meanwhile, Tarek, Chris, Jake and Connor were inside the solitary confinement block. This was the place where prisoners were left alone to suffer without water and food. They reached a haunted hotspot carrying a night vision infrared camera where they heard the story of spirits scratching someone and killing a goat. Suddenly, Chris's head started feeling heavy and he began having trouble breathing. Jake, who was looking at the room's scary things, suddenly started yelling loudly. Jake saw a strange dark shadow there heading towards him when the other two turned towards Jake upon hearing his screams. Then they also saw that shadow coming towards them. But then suddenly, it disappeared into the air. When they discussed that shadow among themselves, all three got very scared. And just then, Jake felt that someone standing next to him was breathing heavily. But there was no one there. And then suddenly, that dark shadow stood right in front of them, and upon seeing it, all three of them screamed and ran away, and on the walkie-talkies informed their team. Mr. Beast, Chandler, and Josh heard them, but felt that they were trying to prank Mr. Beast and scare him. However, while they were talking among themselves, from the walkie-talkie, a very loud... in that prison, there was also an old church. Mr. Beast thought that now they would just look at that church and leave the place because Mr. Beast was starting to worry a bit about his friends. That church was once execution. It is said that many people who were executed, their souls still wander in the area of that church. Mr. Beast, while pretending to be a priest, seated Chandler and thanked him for coming there and started talking about the place being haunted. At that moment, his walkie-talkie suddenly started buzzing again, but this time Chris was asking for his location. Mr. Beast joked and gave his location, but then suddenly there was a strange disturbance on the walkie-talkie, and then he felt like Dave, Pudite, Ali, Arsante ke, Ichaki poi, Dati kapoti. And when the three of them listened carefully, they heard a woman's voice from the walkie-talkie saying, "It's raining outside." Every to me, that is, it is raining outside. And to them, that voice didn't sound like a normal woman's, but rather very unsettling. In fact, Chandler felt as if the woman was laughing in a strange way. And then suddenly that voice stopped coming. The three of them did not understand what just happened with them, so they left from there back towards the hall. They went to their base camp, but then they noticed that heavy rain started outside and the sound of thunder could also be heard. Chandler and George were quite scared, but Mr. Beast was enjoying all this, and something else was going on in Mr. Beast's mind. What was going on in Mr. Beast's mind?